This creature is filtering lead, cadmium, and arsenic out of your soil right now, permanently, for free. And it's not even an insect, it's a crustacean, the same family as the lobster and shrimp on your dinner plate. And it's been living under your garden pots this whole time. Most people kill it on sight. Today I'm going to show you why that's a mistake, and why the moment you stop, your entire garden gets healthier. Go outside right now. Walk to the nearest garden pot, the oldest stone, or that piece of wood that has been sitting in the corner of your yard for months. Lift it up. What you find underneath will almost certainly include them. Armored creatures moving in every direction at once, small and gray, with at least some of them curling instantly into perfect spheres the moment the light hits them. You might see dozens of them, sometimes hundreds, clustered together in the cool darkness, completely unbothered by the world above until you arrived. Your first instinct, if you are like most people, is to put the pot back down quickly, or maybe reach for a shoe to get rid of them. They look like a problem, don't they? They look like something that simply does not belong in a healthy, well-kept garden. But here is what I need you to understand before you do anything else. Stop. What you are looking at is not a pest. It is not a sign of neglect or rot or anything going wrong in your garden. What you are looking at is one of the hardest working, most chemically sophisticated, and most misunderstood creatures in your entire outdoor space. And the day you stop trying to eliminate them is the day your garden becomes measurably healthier. Today, we're going to talk about what Roly-Polies, known scientifically as Armadillidium vulgare, and more formally as pill bugs, actually are. We aren't just talking about what they look like or the fear response they might trigger, but what they actually do and why the truth about them is so strange and so useful that most people who hear it want to immediately tell someone else. Let's start with the fact that will change everything. The roly-poly is not an insect. Read that again. It is not an insect. It has no relationship to beetles, ants, or any of the other creatures we usually associate with garden soil. The pill bug is actually a crustacean. It belongs to the order Isopoda, which is the same biological order as shrimp, crabs, lobsters, and barnacles. It is, in the most literal taxonomic sense, a land-dwelling crustacean, a relative of the creatures you order at seafood restaurants, that evolved over millions of years to leave the ocean entirely and make its home in the soil beneath your garden pots. I remember the first time I read this in a research paper, and I had to stop and go back to reread it myself. A crustacean in my garden? The same family as the lobster on someone's dinner plate, living under a clay pot next to my tomatoes? It's the kind of fact that feels like it cannot be right until you look at the animal again, really look at it, and suddenly the segmented armor, the multiple pairs of legs, and the way it moves all make a completely different kind of sense. This single fact, crustacean, not insect, is the key to understanding everything remarkable about what they do. Because crustaceans evolved in water, their biology was originally built for aquatic environments. When the ancestors of the pill bug made the transition to land, a process that took tens of millions of years and involved extraordinary physiological adaptations, they carried certain aquatic biological tools with them. These are tools that, in the soil environment, became something no other land creature possesses. For example, a pill bug doesn't breathe like a beetle. It breathes through structures called pleopodal lungs. These are modified gill-like organs on its underside that must remain moist to function. This is why they congregate in damp, dark spaces. It is not a preference, it is survival. They are, in a biological sense, still partly aquatic, still tethered to moisture the same way their ocean ancestors were tethered to the sea. But this aquatic heritage gave them something extraordinary in return. Pill bugs are detritivores. They feed on decomposing organic matter, dead leaves, rotting wood, fungi, and the decaying remains of other organisms. In doing this, they perform one of the most essential functions in any garden ecosystem. They break down organic material into forms that soil bacteria and fungi can process further, which accelerates the decomposition cycle that produces the nutrients your plants need to grow. A garden with a healthy pill bug population decomposes its organic waste faster, recycles nutrients more efficiently, and maintains a better soil structure than a garden without them. This alone would make them worth protecting, but it's not even the most remarkable thing they do. The most incredible thing, the one that scientists have been studying intensively for the past 2 decades, is what happens when pill bugs encounter heavy metals in the soil. I'm talking about things like lead, cadmium, copper, zinc, and arsenic. These toxic metals accumulate in urban and suburban soils from decades of industrial activity, vehicle exhaust, old paint, treated wood, and contaminated groundwater. They do not break down and they do not go away. Instead, they accumulate in the soil, enter plant tissue, and move up through the food chain into the vegetables you grow, into the bodies of the animals that eat them, and eventually into you. However, when pill bugs eat contaminated soil material, something extraordinary happens inside their bodies. Research published in the journal Cell Biology International identified specialized cells in the pill bug's midgut called S cells. These cells actively absorb heavy metal ions from digested material and sequester them in mineralized spheres. The metals are not processed and they are not excreted back into the soil. They are locked inside the pill bug's body, permanently removed from the soil ecosystem, and stored in a form that cannot re-enter the food chain. The pill bug does not just live in your soil, it filters it. It is, by any scientific measure, one of the most effective biological heavy metal remediation agents ever identified, operating continuously for free in the exact locations where contamination accumulates. Studies conducted at research institutions across Europe have found that pill bug populations in contaminated urban soils contain measurably higher concentrations of lead and cadmium than the surrounding soil. This means the animals are actively drawing these toxins out of the environment and concentrating them in their own bodies. When those animals eventually die and are consumed by other decomposers, the metals are passed further up the food chain in a contained, mineralized form that is significantly less bioavailable than the free ionic metals in contaminated soil. Your pill bugs are literally running a detoxification program in your garden, and yet most people are just stepping on them. But there is one more dimension to the pill bug's biology that deserves our attention, and it's the one that explains the rolling behavior that gave them their most famous name. The defensive curl is not simply a behavioral response to a threat. It is a masterpiece of structural engineering. The pill bug's exoskeleton, with those overlapping armor plates that give it that segmented, almost mechanical appearance, is designed to interlock precisely when the animal curls. The result is a sphere with no exposed soft tissue, no vulnerable entry points, and a surface that distributes external pressure across the entire structure rather than concentrating it at any single point. Engineers at several universities have actually studied the pill bug's rolling mechanism as a model for designing flexible, impact-resistant structures, the kind used in robotics, protective equipment, and even aerospace components. Think about that for a second. The animal that people step on in their gardens has a body architecture sophisticated enough to inspire aerospace engineering research. This is who is living under your garden pots. Not a pest, not a problem. You have a land crustacean with millions of years of evolutionary history, a gill-based respiratory system adapted for soil, a digestive process that accelerates nutrient cycling, a heavy metal sequestration system that protects your soil and your food, and a structural defense mechanism that has inspired modern engineering. The most practical thing you can understand about pill bugs is this: they thrive where the conditions are right, and their presence tells you something true about your garden. They need moisture, organic matter, and darkness. The same conditions that support healthy decomposer communities, earthworm populations, and the fungal networks that feed your plants. A garden with hundreds of pill bugs under its pots and stones is a garden with living, active, and biologically rich soil. Conversely, a garden without them is often a garden that has been over-treated, over-dried, or stripped of the organic matter they need to survive and that your soil needs to function. If you want to support them, and as we've seen, there are very good scientific reasons to do so, the approach is simple. Leave organic matter on the soil surface. Leaf litter, wood chip mulch, and the remains of last season's plants. Keep your moisture levels consistent. Most importantly, stop using broad-spectrum pesticides that kill indiscriminately. And the next time you lift a pot and find them there, please put the pot back gently. They were doing something important in the dark, and they will go back to doing it the moment the light is gone. The next time someone in your household reaches for a shoe near the garden, tell them what they are about to step on. It's not a pest, and it's not a problem. It is a crustacean that has been cleaning your soil, filtering your toxins, and building the foundation of your garden's health, quietly, continuously, and completely without asking for anything in return. I want to hear from you. Have you ever found hundreds of them under a pot or a stone and wondered what on earth they were doing there? Or maybe you've noticed your garden's health change after you stopped using chemicals and they started moving back in. Tell me about it in the comments below. I read every single one, and this platform has some of the best garden stories I have ever heard. If you love life, respect the mystery, and want to understand the hidden intelligence of the natural world, make sure to subscribe and join our family here at Backyard Guardians. And if you want to understand another creature that is doing invisible, essential work in your property right now, one that most people have never even thought to look for, the next video is already waiting for you right here. Keep watching, keep wondering, and never stop paying attention to the small things.